Well, hello, folks, and welcome to the Dieter Melhorn Fishing Podcast. I hope you're having a good day. Whatever day it is that you happen to be listening to the show, we're going to talk about, well, one of the biggest catfish that's ever been caught in America. I'll give you my opinion on just how big it is. Unless you've been under a internet fishing rock for the past week, there was a massive catfish caught on the Missouri River. I've done a video about it, did a podcast about it, I had a short about it. Jesse Lance is the young man that caught the fish. I love his name, by the way. I love his name. That's like a cowboy name, a WWE wrestler name. I just like it. But it's a good name because it's a name. His name is a name you're going to want to remember. Similar to the legendary guy Radish. Nobody talks about him by his real name. They just know him by Radish. He caught what I believe is the biggest catfish that's ever been caught. Period. Some pictures of it. I've done videos on it. May have to revisit that now that this fish has been caught. But Jesse Lance caught a massive, massive, massive fish on the Missouri River. Was out there fishing by himself, in case you don't know the story. And he did not go through the steps on purpose to try to get it weighed on a certified scale so that it would become a new record. He originally thought it may be big enough to become a state record. After examining the pictures of the fish, and there's multiple pictures because there's a video of it. That's the great thing about this in the modern age, is that there's a lot of technology and a lot of reference points in this video as to exactly how big it is. And it would have eclipsed the Missouri record with no question. The Missouri record is at 130 pounds. I think it's Greg Burnell caught the fish. And great fish, no doubt. But just comparatively speaking, this fish is much bigger. I'll get to that in a second and just how much bigger. But the young man weighed it. He had a scale, but could not get the fish all the way off of the ground. With part of the fish still on the ground, it was around 126 pounds, I believe is what he said. And that right there alone says that it was big. When you're at 126 pounds and it's still dragging the ground, that's a big fish. From what I can see, the thing I looked at was there's a point at which we get a really, really good look at just how long it is. We get a great look at the girth on this thing. We'll talk about that in a second, just about the girth and some of the things that change with that. But we get a real good look at how long the fish is when he pulls it up, trying to get it all the way up off of the ground. And, you know, he's somewhere up here in the upper chest area with his hands. Obviously, your hand's going to be a little bit further into the fish's mouth. It's going to extend a little bit further. As I said in my other video, I played around here with a tape measure doing kind of the same thing. I'm a little bit taller than he is, so there's a little bit difference there, but we're only talking, you know, probably 3 inches at the most difference in height. But the question comes down to how much of the tail was on the ground in that video. You can go look at it for yourself and see. Make your own call, your own judgment on that. But the fish is a length that is at least as long as the current world record fish. And that was the one caught by Nick Anderson. From what I can tell, it's about probably maybe 4 inches, 4 to 5 inches longer. The girth is what's really impressive. And one of the things about girth on a fish is when you first catch that fish, it looks much bigger than when you pull it out of a live well, you know, several hours later. That was one of the things I was texting with Dale Lowe about, who caught a 141 pound catfish, the biggest catfish that's ever been caught in a tournament, and released it alive. And he was talking about, you know, how big it was girth wise, was very similar to the fish he caught. What happens is these fish have stomach contents, have a lot of stuff in them, and you know, they'll regurgitate it, expel it while they're in a live well for a long period of time. So the bottom line is that the fish is huge. You know, I don't think there's a question of whether it's 140 pounds or not. I think it's how close is it to 150, which brings up the next stage of this, and really the title for this video is, this could be a bad thing for that fishery. There's no real secret on where this thing was caught, from what I understand from talking to people out there. This is a similar scenario that Micah Burkhart faced in Tennessee when he caught the state record out there twice. That a lot of people knew the area, and people started fishing it heavily. And especially when you release a fish back in, Micah released his fish miles away, and people were still fishing the area. This fish was released right back into that area. And the cold hard truth is, the place is probably going to get hammered with boats, because there is somebody out there who is willing to kill that fish to get a world record. And that's kind of one of the downsides to all this. One's going to be the fishing pressure. It's going to be a lot of people in the water. I would expect that if the weather's nice this weekend, that place is going to look like an armada of boats out there, especially for the people that are familiar with the Missouri River where this thing was caught at. So, which brings up the question of killing the fish. He didn't do it, and I was very impressed with how many people were in support of that. Not a lot of poo-pooing or shaming the fact that he did it and didn't get the record. Very impressed with that. Most people hold him in very high regards for doing it, as do I. But I will say this. I had some people message me, and they asked, how old do you think this fish is, and how much longer do you think it would have lived anyway? And the truth is, these fish generally have been aged anywhere from 18 to around 24, 26 years old when you get into this 110, 120 pound range, the ones that have been accurately aged using an otolith. It's just rare that you get a fish older than that. 26 is the oldest I've seen. I'm sure there are some outliers out there, but fish, just like a human, doesn't keep on growing. It doesn't just keep growing as long as it's alive. This fish may have quit growing 5 years ago, 10 years ago. So the other thing is, some fish, depending on the health of them, may or may not be fertile at that point. A lot of variables come into play. So there's a lot of, argument made that, well, that's a fish that can spawn and spread its DNA. And there's truth to that. The DNA of a fish like that, not all fish grow to that size, no matter how old they get. But obviously, that fish has had a couple of decades probably to spread its DNA. Many, many spawns, millions and millions of eggs, and it's out there is the bottom line. So, do I shame anybody for killing a fish that size that's a potential world record? No, I don't. One, it's legal. That's the utmost thing, is that it's legal. And people have different reasons for doing what they do. And what would I do in that situation? I don't know. I'm not going to sit here and speculate on what I do. Many times I've thought about it, and I said I'd probably release the fish because the record doesn't mean that much. The legend of releasing the fish is greater than the record itself. But I think records are meant to be broken, and they will be broken to a certain point. And we say that, and we ain't seen a new channel catfish record happen in many, many years. But back to the point of, would I kill one? I don't know. I'm not going to sit here and say I wouldn't. I don't think I'll ever have to worry about being in that situation. That's a good thing. But is there a greater good, from getting it certified? And if it attempting to keep it alive, and then if it does die, is the data that you gain worth it? I don't know. It's a interesting question scenario. Again, I don't have to worry about it where I'm at. I don't think we even have the potential to get a fish anywhere close to that. Now, going up the road up I-85 a little ways toward Kerr Lake, and that's possible, but it's going to be a bad deal for that fishery. The one good thing about that fishery is, from what I've had a bunch of people message me the past several days, And the thing most of them say is there are some big fish in there. And I've had a bunch of them say they get skunked a lot fishing there. It is not a fishery like where I fish, to where we don't have that high top end fish, but we can catch pretty good numbers of fish. You know, even Jesse said in a post, and I think he told me, you get skunked fishing those waters a lot because there's not a lot of fish. There's not a lot of big fish. It is not super populated with fish, but there's some giants there. So that may be the deterrent that keeps some people away, aside from the hardcore, super hardcore fishermen that, you know, have maybe a live well on board to put that fish in. You know, if you're a big tournament fisherman into fishing the bigger tournaments, you may have a live well that can get that fish back to the scales, get it weighed, and you know, potentially have at least a Missouri record and possibly a world record. And once and for all, later rest some of this speculation about how much that fish weighed. Do I think it can be caught? Yeah, I do. I think it would not surprise me if we don't see that fish caught between now and probably Christmas. It would not surprise me a bit. This is the time of the year when those type of fish feed and are caught. And I think those waters are going to get pounded. The fact that it got caught now in the early part of that cold weather feed, I think those waters are going to get pounded. So that's another part of the bad thing, is that, you know, somebody could catch it, get the record, and, you know, it would be bittersweet for Jesse. I'll say that. But that's fishing. You know, you make your decision, you live with it, and you got to be commended for doing that. Then again, that fish could swim off and die. It could die tonight. Who knows? But I do feel it could be caught. And you guys that fish up there, I think the fishery is going to get pounded. Let me know if you're fishing out there. Drop something in the comments as to just what it's looking like this weekend. I think starting Friday, Saturday, Sunday, you're going to start seeing a lot of boats, especially if the weather's good. So that's the downside to all of it, but in the end, it's a lot of excitement in the industry. It's a lot of excitement among anglers. It's a good little boost for the catfish world, and it's good to see that there are still some big fish out there, no matter how bad you may think the fishery can be. Sometimes the worst place for catching fish can have some of the biggest fish if it has everything in place to grow a fish that size. So anyway, that's it for now. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Catch you out on the water.